And you're looking at a live picture in Miami, Florida. Any minute now, Marco Rubio announced that he is running for president. The question is he electable? We'll get to Rubio a little later in the program. Also, of course, Hillary Clinton finally making it official. We'll explore how Hillary now is different than the Hillary from 2008. And also, we'll take a look at what Bill's role will be. Then, if you don't like the test, just skip the test. Well, we'll explore the growing opt-out movement in New York and why union leaders and some parents are telling kids to stay home on test day. Good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French, and we will begin tonight with a race for the White House and the first full day of Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign. Where'd that come from? Well, Hillary releasing this video yesterday afternoon, and one thing it didn't really show was a lot of Hillary. She didn't appear until the end of the 2-minute piece, and here she is.
I'm getting ready to do something too. I'm running for president. Americans have fought their way back from tough economic times, but the deck is still stacked in favor of those at the top. Everyday Americans need a champion, and I want to be that champion.
A big difference in terms of messaging from '08 when she was on camera for an entire announcement video. On that video, she used the word I 31 times. This time, she only mentioned herself 5 times. Now, this time, she says, not about her, it's about you, the electorate. She wants to be the champion of the little guy. That was the messaging yesterday. Now, this time around, she's also selling herself as a new Hillary, but the question is, will the strategy work? Let's bring in our panel to answer that question and many more. Jeannie Zaino, professor of political science at Iona College and also professor of campaign management at NYU. Dominic Carter, look at him smiling here on a Monday, political journalist and author. Scott Levinson, president of the Advance Group, and to his right, Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. All right, I start with you, Andrew. How do you think she did? I know it was scripted. We all knew it was coming. 2 minutes on a Sunday. The timing was a little interesting, but that said, a distinction with a difference from 8 years ago?
I mean, she was able to frame the message very carefully and put herself in the best possible light. She didn't expose herself to any questions. She did exactly what she needed to do. You know, there's been so much analysis of this 2+ minute video. It's like the Zapruder film all over again. We're going through frame by frame to see if she smiled just the right amount. But you know, it's a positive only. There's really no negative to it. So it's a win for Hillary, at least on round one. We're
going to get Dom to the 2-minute to the SNL bit a little bit later in the show because you know, truth and humor sometimes maybe. But that said, today, Hillary Clinton's on the road, stopped at a Chipotle to, I guess, I don't know, grab an enchilada or burrito or something in Ohio.
Burrito bowl.
A burrito bowl, I'm sorry. There she is.
Those are good.
But, you know, we've seen different versions. We've covered her when she ran for Senate. We certainly saw her campaign up close and personal in 2008. They wanted to do this differently. Did they succeed?
Yes. And the reason why they succeeded, I remember in 2008, I was in Des Moines, Iowa, when she came in 3rd place.
Lucky you.
Lucky me. A very disappointing night for Hillary Clinton. And I think that night has replayed in her head a million times. So the fact that she's hit the ground running, she didn't fly into Iowa, she's driving there. She's a woman of the people. It's sending all the right signals, and she's off to a good start, and it appears that she's learned from her mistakes, and she's not taking anything for granted.
All right. Jeannie, you're a resident pro when it comes to polls and also math on this stuff. Let's show the electoral map here because if you take a look at this right now and you look at the blue states, you need 242. Just getting out of the gate, barring a huge surprise, Democrats kind of locked down 200 of these. So the math certainly would seem to be advantageous to Democrats. Now, you got to get a few of those states that are toss-ups to go your way, but that's really what she's trying to do here. She figures she's already got the coast, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the Electoral College does favor Democrats this time around, so that's a good thing. I don't know if I'm the only...
I apologize on the math. Yeah. I said they need 270. They have about 240, 242.
Yeah.
That at least it's leaning heavily Democrat.
Heavily towards Democrat. It favors the Democrats. Yeah. But am I the only one? When I'm clicking on this link, I'm thinking, is this an advertisement? What is this about? And then it was 90 seconds before she came on, which I think is a fine thing. but I didn't know what she was talking about. And I don't think she's given quite a rationale for why she's running. And I think that's the big question.
She's going to be a day.
Well, shouldn't you be able to say before a day? You don't want to be Ted Kennedy, do you, and not have a reason for running? I mean, okay, so she's running. We get that. She says it's going to take her 4 to 6 weeks to tell us why. But shouldn't she be able to tell us why?
I will say this, Scott. I remember the listening tour when she was running for Senate, and I was schlepping all over New York here, and we weren't getting the answers and stuff. It's one day, okay? But what is the answer to why am I running, and why am I better this time than I was 8 years ago?
I mean, I think to some extent she is why she's running, and I think her entire life has prepared her for this. I think the fact that she also framed the video and being a champion for the average American helps her, but that's, as Jeannie said, not much there. I think to Dominic's point, what is there is she started running day one. And the one thing about front-runner status, you've got to win the election every single day. Every single day, she's got to be tops of the field. She's got the hearts and minds of people waiting for her to be that. People just want her to show it.
All right, well, let's do the assets. I think the assets are she's going to raise a ton of money, okay, period. Nobody's debating that. She's got the infrastructure. She's got the experience, which I always think is underestimated. And she's got name recognition that you can't buy. That all said, Andrew, and I think she's got probably as important as anything, she would be ready day one for the job. No other candidate, I think, could say that in terms of competency. Even if you hate her, let alone you love her, she's going to be okay for that 3 o'clock phone call. That said, what's the biggest hurdle she's got to overcome?
Well, you're right. She's the best placed non-incumbent candidate in modern political history. She's got more advantages, more upside than anybody else. To Jeannie's point, she is going to have to establish a rationale for why she's running. She's going to have to convince people that it's not what Scott said, that it's not just, it's because of my story that's prepped me for this and I'm next.
Yeah.
That's not going to cut it, and that'll get people looking for another answer or for another alternative. So she's got to clearly articulate who she is and why she's running. And I think she needs a streak of populism in her campaign. She's got to show that she's for middle-class or working-class families, not as cozy with Wall Street as her reputation leads her to, might lead you to believe. She's got to show that she's fighting for other people.
It's a real challenge for her to be fresh and new when she's been around the longest and is the best well-known. That's a tremendous challenge for her, which is why she's got to bring the A game every single day, because that's how she's going to win.
You know, for me, Don, though, people wanted fresh and new 8 years ago, right? And if there are complaints, forget about from the fringe, you don't even think he's a real American and he's a Muslim sympathizer and all the other nonsense. But even for those that supported the president, that this current president, it's that he didn't really fully understand or embrace the challenges that went along with the presidency, and he didn't want to get into it. I think if she tries too hard to reinvent herself, that she's some outsider, no one's going to buy it. She is who she is, and I think the more she embraces it, at least my perspective, people are either going to like it or not. She's not trying to win 100% of the votes here. She's trying to win a majority of them. She's trying to get another, 30, 40 electoral votes that, at least the way the map's built now, she doesn't have. I think if she's who she is and doesn't try to be something else, that's the best strategy, my perspective.
I don't think Hillary Clinton has to attempt to redefine herself at all. I think, frankly, there's a sizable amount of America that does not like a Clinton, but I think there are many more people that are already in love with her and the possibility of making history again. These are the issues that and when she comes in with the issues of her husband, in terms of basically, without saying it, you're getting 2 for 1. Hey, remember those great times in America where there was at least jobs and money? That's what I think most Americans are looking at when it comes to Hillary. I don't think she has to reinvent herself. I just don't see why that argument is necessary.
She's as polarizing a candidate, right, that there's no middle ground on Hillary Clinton in terms of people either like her or hate her. What would you say, barring a surprise, is going to be your biggest hurdle between now and the election?
Well, what's going to be her biggest hurdle is what Barack Obama said about her in 2008, is that she's likable enough. and you look at the polls, and that's what everybody says. She's not quite likable. She's not quite honest. You know, we don't know what to make of her. So that's going to be a hurdle. What's going to be another hurdle is that Americans since World War II don't elect the same party to the presidency 3 terms in a row. We've only done it after Ronald Reagan with George W. Bush Sr. She's got a hurdle there. So there's a lot of hurdles she's got to overcome. You know, I agree with Dominic. It's really hard to reinvent yourself when you're so well known. And I'm not so certain she has to, but by the same token, she does have this facade, this view that people have of her of not being quite likable and honest. And that's a big problem in some of these key states. You look at Colorado, you look at Iowa, you look at Virginia, you look at Ohio, you look at those states. That's a problem for her, and she's going to have to address it. But you have to say Robbie Mook is prepared to address those things, and that's why she's out on this, you know, quote-unquote Scooby-Doo bus doing this.
Okay.
Or
you know
van.
What's funny is, I agree with everything you
the
said.
The Scooby-Doo van is funny.
Yes,
Richard.
it is. You did a great job with that. And Shaggy and Velma and the rest of that. So, but the funny thing is
it's
Scott
funnier than the
Donaldson,
bus?
I don't know if it's as funny as that, but
Jeez.
we meet a lot of guys, as soon as the red light goes off on the camera, they are an unlikable bunch, a lot of politicians, right? And the phoniness, we could tell stories here throughout the night. She's not like that.
No, it's actually the
Everybody
opposite.
likes her. I'm telling you, Republicans throughout this state, when the cameras were off, said, she did more for me than Republican X or whatever. People legitimately like her. But Jeannie's right. This Ice Princess thing, is there any way she breaks through that? Because the reality is better than the image.
But this is why...
You agree with me, right?
I agree that she overperforms every time you're with her interpersonally. Every time anybody has had a moment with Hillary Clinton, they will tell you she's warmer and more
genuine than Bill,
more,
by the way.
More,
I think so.
And he's a master.
Okay, but
so
you
we'll
feel
put
you're
that
being
aside.
worked with him.
But
With her, it's different. It somehow doesn't come across on TV.
The fact is, that's the challenge. The challenge is in these real people moments, in these real people interactions that she's going to have on the campaign trail. Can she be in the moment, not posturing, not from some 10,000 foot, but actually be in the moment with those people? That's when she'll shine. And the camera smells that, the American public smells that.
And I think that answers the first question in all this, which is why she did the video as opposed to doing a big rally with a crowd of 5,000 people. That's not where she's at her strongest. She tends to come off a little stiff when she's talking before a big crowd.
Hey.
But when she's doing one-on-one or when she's talking to
I
the camera,
think to your
she's
point,
much
Andrew,
better.
SNL nailed that. And on the other side of the break here, we'll play that, but also it begs a whole bunch of questions. How about the role for Bill Clinton? What will that be here? Are getting 2 Clintons for the price of 1 a good thing or a bad thing here? And what about the relationship between the current president and the person in his party who wants his job? Barack Obama and Hillary, the relationship, their different operations, and everything else that goes with it. We'll get into all that after this.